Welcome to section 12.2. This is the 127th session of the CISSP exam prep series. In this session, we'll secure the voice channels that businesses still run on. We'll answer several questions. What counts as telephony? And why does it still matter? Where does the traditional phone network fit today? Is VoIP encryption really end-to-end? How do you actually harden a VoIP deployment? What are Vishing and phreaking? And how do attackers abuse a PBX? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because voice is the channel people trust without thinking. Picture a regional credit union whose help desk takes calls all day. An attacker who sounds confident on the phone can walk past controls that would stop any email. When you protect voice, you close a door that most security programs leave wide open. That responsibility lands squarely on you. What counts as telephony, and why does it still matter? Telephony is the whole set of methods an organization uses for phone service, for voice, or for data. It covers the traditional public network, the private branch exchange that runs an office, cellular service, and VoIP. Voice used to feel separate from IT security, but the two have converged. Most voice now rides the same network as your data. Picture a river that once ran in its own channel and now merges with the main current. Whatever threatens the network threatens the call. Where does the traditional phone network fit today? The public switch telephone network, often called plain old telephone service, was once the primary remote link for most businesses. Broadband and wireless pushed it aside, yet it has not vanished. It still serves as a backup when broadband fails, as the only option in some rural areas, and as a plain voice line when VoIP is down or too costly. These lines are vulnerable to interception, eavesdropping, and tapping. So where voice secrecy matters, encrypt it and use that encrypted path exclusively. Picture the old landline in the corner as the spare tire you keep even after switching to a newer car. Is VoIP encryption really end-to-end? This is the most misunderstood point in voice security. VoIP wraps audio into IP packets, so calls ride your TCP IP network. Encryption is widely available, but it is rarely end-to-end. VoIP is not one technology, and products from different vendors often only agree on carrying the audio itself. If your provider encrypts a call, that protection usually holds only when both parties use the same provider. Call someone on a different service, and the audio crosses a VoIP to PSTN gateway, where it must be decrypted, then possibly re-encrypted on the far side. Picture a sealed letter that has to be opened and read at every border crossing. Unless you stay inside one provider's network, do not assume the whole path is protected. How do you actually harden a VoIP deployment? Even encrypted, VoIP still faces the usual network attacks and some voice-specific ones. So you layer on familiar controls, use strong passwords, and two-factor authentication. Keep and review call logs for anything unusual. Block international calling unless a role needs it. Consider outsourcing to a trusted cloud service and keep firmware current. Restrict physical access to the voice equipment and train your users. Block phantom calls from invalid origins and add a network intrusion prevention system that understands voice traffic. Picture the same seatbelts, mirrors, and airbags you already trust, simply fitted to a different vehicle. What are Vishing and phreaking? Both target the human side of voice. Vishing is voice-based phishing, where an attacker uses a call to win trust and pry loose information or access. VoIP makes it cheap and lets the attacker fake the caller ID to invent a pretext. Your defense is teaching people how to respond. Treat odd or unexpected calls with caution, demand proof of identity before discussing anything sensitive, and use callback authorization to a number from the corporate directory. Never give out or change passwords by voice alone. Treat caller ID as a hint of who to avoid, not proof of who is calling. Phreaking is the older cousin, aimed at the phone system itself. Phreakers manipulate telephone services to place free calls, steal features, or disrupt service, and they have followed voice onto mobile, PBX, and VoIP. Picture a con artist on the line and a lockpicker at the switch, two different intruders. How do attackers abuse a PBX? A private branch exchange is the switch that lets many office phones share a handful of outside lines. It often supports extensions, voicemail, and remote calling, where a traveler dials in, enters a code, and gets an outside dial tone. Attackers exploit exactly that to dodge toll charges and hide their identity. And they may hijack voicemail or reroute calls. Your countermeasures mirror ordinary network defense, blending technical, administrative, and physical controls. Replace remote long-distance dialing with calling cards, restrict dial-in and dial-out to those who need it, protect the admin interface, and disable unused codes. Change every default password, log and audit all activity, and shut off maintenance modems. Picture a shared taxi account with no PIN, where anyone who guesses the code rides on the company's dime. How does Direct Inward System Access help? Direct Inward System Access, or DISA, adds authentication to every external connection into the PBX. But installing it is not enough by itself. You must configure it well, disable any feature you do not need, and choose codes and passwords that resist guessing. Then turn on auditing to watch PBX activity, and keep tight physical control over the wiring closets and phone portals. Remember too that many modern PBX systems are software, so they inherit the same buffer overflows, malware, and denial of service risks as any other application. Picture a well-installed alarm that only protects you once it is armed, tested, and actually watched. So let's bring it together. Telephony spans the old public network, the office PBX, cellular, and VoIP, and voice has converged onto your data network. The traditional network lingers as a backup, still worth encrypting. VoIP encryption is rarely end-to-end, so harden it with familiar layered controls. Vishing and phreaking attack the human and the system, and PBX abuse steals tolls and identities unless you lock it down and add DISA. Protect voice as deliberately as you protect data, because attackers count on you forgetting it. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on rucloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.